So for more on President Trump's meeting with the defense contractors and the U.S. military's munitions stockpile, we're joined now by Kelly Grieco, a senior fellow at the Stimson Center. Kelly, thank you so much for your time today. And I want to start because President Trump posted on his social media platform about that meeting, saying that the companies he met with agreed to quadruple production of the exquisite class weaponry. And that expansion began 3 months ago. And that they have an unlimited supply of medium and upper medium grade munitions, but increased orders for those as well. So what do you make of his recap of that meeting and the impact that it could have on this war, if any?
Yes, I have to be honest and just say that I don't have much of a reaction in the sense that it's not much of an announcement. Essentially, he's telling what the White House already announced before, the Pentagon had already announced before, a series of agreements, months ago, to expand, the production of things like PAC-3 MSEs and THAAD interceptors. There doesn't seem to be really anything new here, and the president's comments around the medium range kind of things that we have in larger stockpiles. I'll just note that it is true we have really deep magazines there. They're of course not unlimited, but there's nothing really new here in the president's announcement.
Yeah. Well, and we mentioned how questions have come up about how long the U.S. and its allies' stockpiles can last. The White House and others have said that the U.S. has enough munitions for this war. But based on how this conflict has played out so far, what's your read on how long the U.S. can sustain this war at this current pace?
Yeah, so I think there's really two variables right now that will determine that. The first one is really, we've seen that the ballistic missile threat has decreased in recent days. The numbers have dropped to the single digits, and the number of attacks with ballistic missiles against Gulf states, which suggests probably that U.S. and Israel have destroyed a number of the launchers. It's possible that Iran is conserving those missiles, but it seems like we've degraded the capabilities. Where the numbers are really holding steady is with these Shahed drones. And so unless the United States and Gulf states are able to find cheaper, more sustainable alternatives to deal with sort of the potential tens of thousands of these Shahed drones, we'll start to see some of the same interceptor challenges around these Shahed drones. And then the other variable here is also the U.S. ability to expand what right now it's calling limited air superiority. We have limited air superiority over southwest Iran, but we don't have it, in the eastern part of Iran. And so right now we're still relying quite a bit on these longer range munitions, the ones that we have the biggest stockpile challenges with. And so if we're able to gain greater levels of air control, we might be able to start using some of these shorter range things that we have in larger numbers. But again, these are unknowns when this is going to happen.
Well, and Kelly, when it comes to producing more weapons for the U.S., how much time would that process actually require?
Yeah, I mean, this is something we've been talking about for years now, in part because of Ukraine's challenges in needing, really vital weapons and munitions that we haven't been able at times to provide in the numbers that might be required. The issue here is that it's not a problem that's easily solved just simply by throwing money at it. So even if the United States were to say to defense contractors today, here, billions of dollars you can have, just make these really quickly. There are a number of bottlenecks in the process. One is that many of these are sophisticated munitions and therefore require really skilled labor. And so you'd have to expand the workforce, and that takes time. And then the other part of it is that even if you order a missile from a particular, say, defense company, that defense company doesn't make all of the components and subcomponents for that missile. And so sometimes we find in that there's a supplier, a sub-supplier, a very specific part of one of these systems that is not able to surge production sufficiently, and that holds up the whole process. So there are a number of things here that prevent this from happening as fast as we might want. But it's certainly something we need to work on, and it can help to replenish what we've used in the years ahead. But it's not going to solve the problem, say, next week or even next month.
All right, Kelly Grieco for us. Thank you so much.